Welcome to another episode of Rise Urban Nation. I'm your host, Taryell Simmons, where we elevate Black and Pan African entrepreneurs, transforming our world through passion and purpose. And let me ask y'all this: what if the secret to scaling your brand wasn't just your marketing budget or social media following, but your personal story? Today's guest lives with that philosophy. Jamarquan Houston is the founder of Upper Class Agency, a top tier consulting firm that's helping entrepreneurs and professionals build brands from inside out. He's a Forbes BLK member, a leader in the LGBTQ plus community and Black owned business communities. And he's here to talk about how starting with self and scaling with story is the key to lasting success. You don't
Yes,
want to
sir.
miss this. You don't want to miss this. Jamarquan, welcome to the show. Let's start at the
Thank
beginning
you.
because something that we was talking about in the green room too. You was talking about where this passion comes from because you're a 10-year educator
Yes.
with a passion to teach, and you feel like and something you were saying to me that really resonates to me is just that the thing that we have control on is our stories and educating. Where does that come from? Where's that First, tell me about the 10 years as an educator, and where's that passion come from?
Thank you. I think that's a very good point to start on. So thanks again, Taryell, for introducing me to our lovely guest and our podcast today. I'm love to be here, glad to be here. And just building community. I love to do things like this. And this is typical like a conversation that I would have in the community. So having this conversation here and a bigger platform is what I'm about, giving people voices and also giving them platforms. And so thank you again, Taryell, and awesome, wonderful way to, bridge us off into the conversation today with my background. So as Taryell just said, I'm also a 10-year educator. And my first profession is a teacher. So I started as a sixth grade teacher at Notre Dame School, Milwaukee, where I had 26 scholars. And ever since then, I found my passion for teaching. And I realized that, knowledge is the only thing that we really are truly passing down from generation to generation. And so it's what the next generation do with that knowledge that really transforms. And so that's why I
Mhm.
started with myself, started with my story, because I realized, that while I may not have had that foundation built, I can build that foundation for myself. And not only am I going to build that foundation for myself, but I'm going to help others and guide the way so others can do the same. And so that was
Yeah.
kind of like the reason behind my nonprofit Dream Within Incorporated. I started doing workshops on campus in high school. I started in high school because I seen the impact that I had. I was an 8-time scholarship winner at high school. I was racking up scholarships back to back, and my students, my peers, I didn't want to leave them behind. So,
Mm.
I just was thinking about, okay, how can I, you know, extend this same amount of access to my peers so they have the same amount of, techniques and, you know,
Yeah.
writing skills that I have so that they can increase their chances to, internships, scholarships. And so I started workshops doing that, and there was a high demand. And after a
Yeah.
while, I'm like, okay, I'm getting doing this for free, and I see the value in it, and people are coming to me, and I'm like, I have people coming to me back to back to back. So like, I'm like, how can we accommodate us both and make it a win-win situation for us both? And so from Dream Within Incorporated birthed Upper Class Agency. Dream Within is all about going within and finding that knowledge within, because I feel like a lot of times people go through external sources, and when you're going through those external sources, you kind of like going through that rabbit hole, right? Of sifting and
Yeah.
finding what really works for you. And because you don't really have nobody else guiding you and coaching you on what really works for you kind of are kind of like your soul is kind of like lost in this world and trying to find it. And so that's where I come in
Yeah.
as a teacher and as an educator of 6+ years now. I'm like, okay, find yourself, find who you are at your core and know yourself. And that every time, every time I, lead my students and, those who I mentee, on the journey and the track of, self-assessments, finding themselves, whether it's through astrology, whether it's through numerology. How in tune are you with yourself? Do you know what triggers you? Do you know what turns you
Mhm.
off? Do you know what turns you on? Do you know what you like? Do you know what you want to do? And so these tools that I call like self-assessments are here for you to help you find who you are. So I use astrology, I use different self-assessments like personality tests, and really delve deeper into who you really are at your core, and finding those things that resonate with you, like Taryell said. So that's what I'm
Man.
all about. I'm all about self-realization of
Uh-huh.
who you are, and that is beyond just this physical realm. And so we all have brilliant minds that you cannot visibly see. You can't cut up in Taryell or Jamarquan's brain and see the wisdom inside, but that's why you never judge a book by its cover, and you never judge a
Mm-hmm.
person by the season that they're in.
That's bars right there. I resonate with a lot of this because some people who know some of my background here in San Diego, when I used to work with youth, I wasn't a traditional educator by sense because I did workforce development, but I got a chance to go into schools and I got a chance to bridge the gap between the career opportunities in workforce development and to the students, and a lot of that was missing. What you're saying
That
was
is.
missing
It is.
because
That's great that you were able to, just be present. Like, I feel like that's the missing link as well, presence. um,
mm-hmm,
Especially when you speak a different language. So language is the missing link, but the barrier between that is your value system. And that's another thing that I like to build on in my community, values. So what are your values? Because like my values translate to vows, things that I'm
mm-hmm,
committed to. And so one of my key values that I live by and embody is compassion. My compassion
mm-hmm,
is a compass, an internal compass for how I like to move and how I do things and how I see things overall from a, wider and bigger perspective, the bigger picture, right? And so,
mm-hmm,
the value system, I'm big on value systems. And, I think that's what is needed, presence. I think a lot of times
mm-hmm.
people don't value others, people presence for who they are instead of what they just do. A lot of times I
Mm,
can connect with you because of your image. I can connect with you because of a title or a name or an attribute, whatever title or whatever that you carry, an identity. But beyond that, do I actually connect with you on a transformational? Because that's more so transactional. Do I actually know what Taryell stands for, what he actually cares about? And so,
yeah.
like, that's where I like to start. Like, okay, what are your values, Taryell? So, what are some of your values?
Family and community first above all everything. And when I say that, I'm not just saying um, everybody is part of my tribe and my community, but the
Oh,
people who
sure. Yeah,
share the
definitely.
same frequency
Oh,
and,
they
and
say all skin folk ain't kin folk, and that's so true. I'm gonna just put that out there. That's really true because a lot of times people don't realize that people true colors is they earth. So I don't
man,
look at color and stuff because it's funny when people do the whole black and white thing when you think about the spectrum, right? It's funny.
man,
It's
yeah,
funny, right?
and then even family. Sometimes family like I've learned some hard lessons in life, like that you got to set certain boundaries with family as well, because family. I don't look at family as just my blood kin, right? Like, yeah, them my relatives because we share the same blood, but we
Yes,
not
yes,
family because
exactly, and that's very
they
important. I
operating
think
on a
a lot of
different
times
frequency.
people forget that, like, your family is the people that you can build with. Because if we being honest, we are family. We are part of the same human family. And if you want me to break it down and slice it down and explain to you how I know and why, I can do that for you because I'm a teacher and you can't out teach the teacher and all this way. But I'm a
Mm-hmm.
lifelong student, and I get that a lot of times because I'm a teacher. People try to debate with me, and it's like, you cannot really fully perform as your profession when it comes to your family because there's, different biases that they're privy to, whatever, and stuff like that. So it's like the mental health therapist that can't really be a therapist for their brother. And it's like the strong friend who can't be the strong friend and therapist for everybody all the time. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
teacher, but it's like I also have, just because I'm a teacher, a black teacher, the perception is that I'm a black teacher, male teacher at that. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times I'm the only black male teacher in a lot of schools that I go to. So that's the perception that I carry. And I don't take that lightly because it's like people can easily twist and run whatever narrative that they want to. And that's why it's important that you uphold and stand on, principles and, have boundaries in place so that, that's not a situation that you're cornered in, and that you're, not finding your way out of, because a lot of times people don't know if they're swimming or drowning. And it's
Yeah.
because people don't have those supportive people to tell them, like, hey, friend, or whatever the situation is, it's toxic and you need to get
Yeah.
out of that situation. A lot of times you have people in your ear giving you unsolicited advice and telling you what you
Mm-hmm.
need to do. And a lot of times I know people know what they need to do. It's just a matter of doing it. And
Yeah.
actually, if they want to do it, a lot of people don't want to make change because they scared. They know that change requires, they don't want to take action because they know that action requires change. And
Yeah.
like change could be scary, whether it's good or bad. So, I don't try to make excuse for people, but I also be clear, like, hey, just because, you have this certain title, whatever the case may be, that shouldn't give you a sense of entitlement. You know what I'm saying? And that's what my
Yeah.
book is titled Entitlements. And that's what I talk about. So in my book, it's Entitlements, The Right to Be Happy, Volume 1. You can purchase this book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and I
Mm-hmm.
talk about entitlement. So throughout this book is full of multi-layered narratives that helps
Mm-hmm.
you reconnect with yourself, helps you ground yourself back in truth, and also help you realize that you can have your head in the clouds while also, being your foot firmly on the ground, and so there's ways about doing that, but also being realistic. And so, I feel like this book offers you that realistic perspective from someone from real life experiences, because you don't really know something until you experience it, right?
Yeah.
And until it's
Absolutely.
tried,
Absolutely.
tested, and true, right? And
Right.
anything that's genuine can stand the tests of time. And so,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to family, again, that's something I don't use lightly. I feel like my family is the family that I'm building, my soul tribe, like Taryell. That's actually like, I spoke to Taryell on a community call on our Change Your Life, Change Your Circle, Change Your Life call. And that was one of the biggest things that I was coming to a realization of. Like, I'm like, okay, I know I'm a very, very fairly disciplined person for my age, and for all the things I accomplished in such a short amount of time, but yet, and still I kind of see that I'm still falling a little bit short in certain areas, but I still know that I'm utilizing all of my skills and talents in every way that
Mm-hmm.
I can. So is it really me? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's hard for you to see that. You can kind of be looking at yourself like, okay, what am I doing wrong? What is going on? Like, why am I, I'm doing everything right, and still
Yeah.
not really finding that place where I want to be. And that's because you were never meant to go on that travel that road. Anyways, you were meant for the road less traveled. And the road less traveled is scary and intimidating because that comes with uncertainty. That comes
Yeah.
with trust in the unknown. But that's life aiming for you, right? We don't know
Yeah.
what's around the corner, right? So when you learn to flow with that and trust that, you will have a very, very better vantage point, I would say.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta
And
just trust the process.
that's the
And,
process.
shout out to the other Jamal Jones for putting that
Oh
call
yeah.
together.
Shout out
So
to Jamar. Shout out to
shout out to
Jamar.
Jamal. He always doing it. I wanna slow it down just a little bit and go back, and we're gonna dive into the book in a little bit later.
Okay.
Um, I want to have a conversation black man because it's something that you said that really hit me and resonated with me, and something I want to unpack real quick with you.
Mm-hmm.
You said, as a black man in the educator space, you're often the only one, right? And and the reason why that resonated with me because when I came into I'm not formally an educator by, the education space. I didn't get my MD or PhD and didn't take that track, but I was in there and I was telling my story and I was educating the kids and I was good at it, but I wasn't technically, some people wouldn't call me technically an educator, except for the folks in my community. It's like, you're an educator, man, you should go back to school, do this and come back in and we need more black male educators. Like, nah, I'm not going back to school again just to do all that to get paid pennies and not be
Right.
and
Not
then be
for you.
treated like this.
Oh no.
so
No.
so and when I look at the education space, there's not you right. There's not a lot of black males in there.
Mm-hmm.
From my personal observations, there's a lot of white women, and then there's some women of color. But why, like, man, why do you feel like not enough Black educators in the education space?
That's a really good question, Taryell. Um, I mean, it's like it's a lot of intersection at this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of different things that overlap and play a part in this. It's a little bit of everything that play a part into that, right? Um, for me, from my perspective, from what I experience, I would say it's not really looked at as a lucrative career. If a child don't really see somebody else doing it and see them excelling in it and, you know, finding themselves happy in it, then they're gonna find that hard for them to see themselves in it. And so I really will say this about the representation again. I'm currently working in the Wauwatosa School District. I don't know if you're familiar with Milwaukee, but if you know about Milwaukee, then you should know that the zip codes here are very segregated. And
Mm,
you know, there's a lot of, you know, different discrepancies across the districts. And so, you know, I'm currently in Wauwatosa School District, but I also work in Milwaukee Public Schools. I'm a product of Milwaukee Public Schools. That's where I'm from, the inner city. And
mm-hmm,
I also worked in Brown Dare School District. And a lot of times I would say that it's because they don't have the representation, the visibility. Like you just said earlier, I'm the only one in these schools that's a Black male teacher. So it's like, just think about that. Like, if a
mm-hmm.
student, because, you know, kids are sponges and they're very smarter than what we give them credit
Yeah,
and think. And so, just imagine another student see, you know, the representation that's what it's
mm-hmm.
like. And do
Yeah,
you think that they are going to see themselves being in this type of career if,
mm-hmm.
you know, they don't see that, you know, if they see other rappers, they see other people being more valued. And then going back to your point about you not even being valued enough to be seen as a teacher when you are, in fact, a teacher. Just because you don't have the certain title or the certain credential, that doesn't mean that you're less of a teacher. You know, I just
Mm-hmm.
have the title because I'm licensed by, you know, the state and whatever. But you know, you're still, your presence is a gift. You get what I'm saying? So you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
undervalued in that way. And that's because people will rather listen to other people and what they say versus someone who has went through real life experience and has value and wisdom and transferable skills and whatever else that you may have that may fully culminate into, you know, what this world needs right now. And
Yeah,
so it could be anything that, you know, you can offer and contribute. But I mean, if you're not, first of all, valued as such, then it's going to be hard to translate that to others, you know? And I feel like that's
yeah.
one of the reasons why a lot of students don't really necessarily see themselves doing it as a career because it doesn't
Well,
really come off as something that is fulfilling.
yeah, and I think representation matters, right? And I think, um, you know, if we could change the narrative around this, we can help heal, educate, and uplift the communities because I've you know, there's a lot of kids striving for just communication with, you know, people that look like them and resonate with them.
Yes,
To help them just, you know, see things differently and perspectives differently that
exactly.
can help inform their life
Exactly.
journey. And you know, I'm thinking of two things in this next question. You know, like one, your thoughts on how can we, you know, change the game around this? And because I know, listen, every journey has bumps, right? And I can't imagine your journey to where you're at today to be
Hmm.
an educator in this space and then start a company didn't come without it. So like, you know, give me your thoughts on one, how can we change the narrative around this? And then share a little bit about, you know, your journey too, the time when things didn't go as planned. What was the major challenges and how you got through it for somebody that's seeing your journey is like, man, I want to do exactly what he's doing, being able to educate in this space and then start a company that helps, you know, balance out the inequities so that I can move the way I want to move in this space.
Well, I would say, first of all, you kind of see where we're going. I'm multi-talented, so I feel like most importantly, don't be a one-trick pony. So I definitely feel like, you know, creativity is our currency and innovation is our capital. And I feel like,
Say that again for the people in the back.
yes, creativity is our currency and innovation is our capital. And
That's a good one.
And people is our planet. You know, when you think about what makes the world go round, it's the people in it. Like, you know, you can say all day, oh, I don't like people and stuff like that, but it really, you know, people exist in your world because you want them to exist in your world.
Yeah.
You know,
What
that's
would you
the
say
whole.
to the people that say that money makes the world go round?
Um, I mean, I just feel like that's program. That's a social program. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a social program. But I mean, you know, um, hey, wherever you want to go and run with that, I let people run with whatever narrative works for them. Because I feel like you can tell the truth, you can tell the flat out truth all day, no
Yeah.
matter what. People sometimes have cognitive dissonance that kicks in and won't
Yeah.
allow them to really accept, you know, that two things is not true at this, and when it comes to this, it's some things are definitely absolute
Mm-hmm.
and majority of things are relative. So two things can
Mm.
certainly be true at the same time. But when it comes to things like your purpose, it's either you walking in your purpose or you not, right?
Mm.
That's black
Yes.
and white, right?
Yeah, that
But
is.
reality is not black and white, because just because you walking in your purpose, that doesn't mean that you're limited to just A or D. It could be
Mm.
A and or B, or it could be A and B, or it could be A, B, or C, or it could be A, B, and C, and or.
Mm.
So don't limit yourself. And that's why I started with my career. You know, I started as a sixth grade teacher at Notre Dame School, Milwaukee. And I just felt like, you know, after I had my first year, you know, it was hard for me to balance out, you know, my personal and professional life, because I didn't really have no
Mm.
other people in my family that was educators and stuff to like kind of give
Yeah.
me tips and stuff, you know, just hacks on how they got, you know, situated and, you know, found their groove. So, you know, for me, I had to find that all for myself. And, you know, with me being younger, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm unorthodox. Y'all gotta understand I'm part of this younger generation. I'm on the cusp of Gen Z and millennials. So I am the gap, really. I'm really am the gap in between this generation as the older
Mm-hmm.
generations phase out. You know, I'm the one that's bridging the gap between this younger generation and this older generation. And that's a tough place to be in, because
Mm-hmm.
it really is a need for intergenerational leadership. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because, you know, the elders know some things, right? But they
Yeah.
don't know all the things. They don't know your reality. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why it's so important as a teacher, because you are a teacher. You are.
Yeah.
At heart, you are, because you come with a real life experience. And then I'm pretty sure whatever you experience, whatever life story you have and testimony, there's something in there that can help somebody else, whether no matter how big or
Mm-hmm.
small it may be big to somebody else. You know,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me.
Yeah.
You know, so getting back to your question and sum it up, change the game by not limiting yourself. A lot of people kind of reach silos in their career because they limit themselves, and they don't realize that's why they stuck in repetitive cycles and loops, because they doing the same thing expecting a different result. So
Mm-hmm.
take chances. You got to be able to take reasonable chances and risk in life.
Yeah.
You probably scared, and you don't want to move. You probably don't want to, you know, take that risk because you're scared of what, you know, could possibly come out of it. But, you know, the worst, what is the worst that can happen when you ask somebody,
Mm-hmm.
you know how they say closed mouths don't get fed. What's the
Yeah.
worst that can happen when you ask somebody for a favor? They can say no, right? But
Yeah.
imagine if you said you got probably you probably got 100 no's from people, and you finally got that one big yes.
Mm-hmm.
That one big yes. That one big yes is all the strength that you need to keep surging, to keep pushing and powering through. Because that's really what it is about. It's about you proving yourself to yourself. Because
Yeah.
ultimately all roads lead back to you. You know?
Mm-hmm. And you said so much to unpack in there. You talked about bridging between the two generations and you being in that center. You also talk about not being a one trick pony, also shifting and being able to take that shift and use it to kind of redefine and get clarity and refocus. I'm
Yeah.
curious, what did because that's a lot of realigning and a lot of like inward focus and probably meditation journal. I don't know what else you do to kind of get that.
It
What did that realignment look like in practice? Because I think a lot of people need to know like what's the tangible, what like, how does that look like in
Right.
practice?
So I feel
I
like
hear
a
it.
lot. I think that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked me that, Taryll, because a lot of times people make things more complicated than what it needs to be. So I think once you understand complexity, you can harness simplicity, and
Mm,
that's very important because simplicity comes from complexity and vice versa. And so once you understand complexity, you will understand that things don't need to be that complicated, and it's right in your face. So how I go about changes is literally seasonal. It's with the seasons right in my face in nature. So we all go through the cycle of life, death, and rebirth and renewal, and that's mimicked in nature. It's right in front of us, y'all. We have 4 seasons. We
mm-hmm,
go through these 4 seasons every year. Y'all know winter, fall, summer,
mm-hmm,
spring, and summer. And throughout those seasons, um, the same thing repeats itself, but you seeing that things are changing too. So
mm,
every chance you wake up every day is an opportunity for you to change something about yourself. And we are not meant to like just, stay static with the cycle. We're supposed to adapt with the cycles. And so
yeah,
how I feel like how I get people to transform is through going through those phases, going through those cycles, because you never know what phase you may be in. You may be in a building phase, you may be in a, be planting your seeds phase, whatever
mm-hmm,
set phase that you're in, it may be pertinent to you getting to that next level in your life. And
yeah,
sometimes a lot of people, stumble because they don't see things right away. They don't see results right away. Because
mm-hmm,
I try to tell people it's internal. It's an internal process first, because as within, so without. So once you handle that internal purification, you transform that raw base material into
mm-hmm,
gold. It's going to show in your outside reality because it's always up here first. That's what
mm,
people forgot, because that's the origin point. That's the origin point. So it starts up here first. That's the first point. And then also the energy. So the feminine, what people call, I don't do the labels no more because I'm beyond that. But
yeah,
this is what, addressing the collective, feminine and masculine. So the feminine is that intuition, like you get that idea, that thought planted, and it's all about, are you going to trust yourself to act on it? And if you
mm,
don't trust yourself to act on, you don't trust your intuition, that first part of yourself, that feminine aspect of yourself that's within us all, by way of us all having mothers, what they call mother's instinct.
mm-hmm,
If you don't trust that, meaning you are disconnected from source, you are disconnected from your other half of yourself or your cosmic body, the moon,
mm-hmm,
because you are the moon and you are the sun. We are all of the elements in nature. We are the cosmos. If you
yeah,
don't know that basic, pretty much stuff, then you're not gonna act on it. And so
yeah,
that's that directing force. That directing force is that masculine energy that's telling you to go after what God showed you already.
yeah,
Because God are not is going to show you something if it's not possible. And, with
mm-hmm,
divine, all things are possible. And so
yeah,
it's all about you just trusting yourself and leaning on that faith more, and taking the leap of faith sometimes, because it can be scary. I know, I understand. Like, I'm still working on, myself, as far as like, okay, doing the next big thing. But because I understand that I don't want this to be just the next big thing, I want this to be something that's sustainable. It's like, I also make sure that I take my time with it. So you got to be patient, all of the virtues. It ain't
mm-hmm,
what you do, it's how you do it. Because
yeah,
there's a certain way about going about everything. And there's no right or wrong here, if you
yeah,
think about it, because in the word wrong, it's grown. So
mm-hmm.
you wrong, being grown really comes with responsibility. And, you're not wrong, and you ain't wrong until you're not, fulfilling those
I love
responsibilities. And
that.
so, you know,
I love that. I love that. And man, like y'all not hearing he dropping gems today, boy. Like the just everything talk about from the moon, the sun, I love how you threw astrology in there. I love how you threw the divine self, looking inward. The answers are already in there, unlocking that. And that's why I used to tell young folks, I was like, who are you, right? Who are you? That's a very important question. Who are
Who
you?
are you?
And I used to do this exercise with them, and I would ask them, "Who are you?" Think about, the things that make up you. Think about the people you love and trust most. What do they say about you? And give me like five different things of who are you? I am strong. I am kind. So all right, now look at that, and then this is gonna help you get closer to the divine purpose and the things that you're supposed to be doing and the track
Yep.
that you're supposed to be on. So
Yes.
if you love and you say that you about love, why you hanging out on the corner with thugs, right?
There you go. And it's like that's the thing. We trying to get people to move from, because ultimately there are no opposites. Like
Mm-hmm.
people see things with two eyes, and that's because they've been programmed, right? They've been conditioned, they've been brainwashed to think in that way. So they see with two eyes instead of the single eye. But that single eye is what they call the third eye, but it's really just your brain seeing things as a whole, not
Mm-hmm.
how you've been trained to see them, brainwashed to see them, okay? And so when you think about it, inhale, exhale, all part of the same breath, right?
Mm-hmm.
All part of the same function. That's like everything. In and out, up and down, it's all the same thing. It just appears different, but it's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. And
Yeah.
so, you know, a 6 and a 9, a 6 is a 9, but it's if you flip it. So it's all about perspective. And I think if those who are able to master their perception,
Mm-hmm.
control the narrative,
Yeah.
and
Love that.
it's
Love
all
that.
about you trusting your life experiences, trusting everything that has brought you to where you are now, and using everything that you got, to prepare you for it. That's what I call an alchemist.
There you go. There
Everything
you
works in
go.
your favor.
I love that. I love that. All right, let's transition and talk about some wins. One project I think you're working on that's just a fabulous win is what you mentioned earlier, the book. Let's go back to the book. Tell me about the book, how this book came to be, who's the book for, and what can people expect to get from this book?
Wow, this book is really phenomenal because it's like as an artist you kind of like be skeptical of yourself. You're your own worst inner critic. So it's like with me
Facts.
writing this book, it took me a while to write this book, of course, because I've contemplated, I've changed and revised so much, but it really just taught me the process of refinement. If
Mm-hmm.
rather than perfection, I think it really taught me persistence over perfection, that pop thing that
Mm-hmm.
people talk about. It really was key to me getting past the hurdle in my life, because I'm a perfectionist at heart. It's like I have this vision in my mind and I want it to go exactly how I see the vision. And if all goes well, it shouldn't be a problem, right?
Yeah.
But and that's not always how it goes. Everything
No.
doesn't go as planned.
But see, things don't always go as planned. But I tell people life is never, because people sometimes think life is happening to me, but life is happening for you. And
Yes,
so
that's
if
great.
a roadblock happens, it's because life is either trying to teach you a lesson or give you a blessing, because you got in your own way. You wasn't following your purpose path, so it had to give you a pivot so that you can learn this lesson or to level up and become what you need to become for the next season, right? So life
Exactly.
is always working for you.
Exactly. There you go. Exactly. There you go. You hit the nail on the head, brother.
Man.
With that, like it's happening for you. And so once you change that, mindset to think and view life like that, then I think that also helps because, as a kid, I think this is a great analogy. When you're a kid, we have that, we tap into our pure imagination. So we not really
Hmm.
programmed yet with
Hmm.
schooling, religion, and all of the other stuff that people tend to get their culture from, their beliefs, their
Hmm.
background, and all of those. And so you know, once you start to look from that perspective as a kid and you tap in with your inner child, you be like, you know what? I've been through stuff that's worse than this, and I got through it even better. And as an
Mm-hmm.
adult now, as I'm maturing, I'm able to even say like, okay, I see why that had to happen so that I can get here. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So and like unless that, happened, that had to happen. I probably wouldn't be where I'm at if that didn't happen. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's that whole saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger,
Yeah.
and I feel like, even better, it's like, it makes you greater. I feel like you become, when you really go through that process of transformation and
Mm-hmm.
purifying yourself and tapping in more into your true purpose and your true self, I feel like you become somebody to be reckoned with. Like the force is with you at that point because now you walking into your purpose. You know exactly what you here for. You know exactly what you sent here to do. Can't nobody really hold you back on that. Like can't nobody take that away from you at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They can discredit you, can do whatever they want to externally, but when you tap in internally, nobody
Mm-hmm.
can take that from you.
No, they can't. They can't. So, what advice would you give, or do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those who feel unseen or unsure where to start?
Yeah, so just finishing like my point about the book, like I started just was like, okay, I want to get this done because once I set my mind to something, I'm like, I have to finish it. Otherwise, it's going to be weighing on my spirit. And so, with that water, it's like that water
Yeah.
energy, that water emotion kick in, and water
Mm-hmm.
is the ruler of emotion. You know how things flow, and it's no coincidence that Earth is majorly covered in water, and our bodies is majorly made up of water. So it's no coincidence. Those emotions really do flow. And if you don't master those emotions, they gonna master you. And so you gotta control the tides. You gotta control the moon, or the moon will control you.
Yeah.
And and not in your typical sense of control. Like people think, control is this external manipulation or something. It's really when you're tapped in, control is about controlling yourself. Because when you control yourself, then you control
Mm-hmm.
what's external. And so
Yeah.
I say that to say, I was able to break through when I realized, like, okay, I need to more so execute and get this done, and I can revise, I can perfect and edit it later. And
Yeah.
ever since then, I have adapted that into my, practice, and now it's less pressure for me to be perfect. Like it's less pressure for me to perform. And so, just
Mm-hmm.
because of that reason, I was able to start. I was able to start with an outline. That outline progress even further, and from there, I had pretty much the whole book outline, and all I had to do was pretty much, finish the manuscript.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest part of the process. Reading a lot of stuff. You change and you grow a lot by the day, but I'm really happy with the final product. Once I read it back, I read my book numerous times, and as an artist, I'm really proud of my body of work because it's like sometimes when it's stuff that comes from you, it can kind of be cringe. Like listening back to this probably be cringe later. I'm gonna leave that to
Mm-hmm.
the audience, and I'm gonna let y'all be my
Mm-hmm.
guests. But
Love it.
I can honestly read my whole book and it doesn't give cringe. It gives like this book is gonna bless somebody one day, and it
Yeah.
already has. It's my book has sold. I have sold multiple copies on Barnes and Noble and Amazon so far. I've sold over 20 physical copies now. And you asked, who is this book for? So this book is for those who seek value in building community, starting with the people that you have around you. I think we don't
Mm.
lean on each other more often for our intelligence, for our brilliance, because if you put two and two together, you put us together, you put your brilliance and my brilliance together, that's going to make, so much more brilliance. And it's going to help us see the areas where we can shine even brighter. It's not dimming your light to show you like, hey, I see you shining in this area, but you can shine even brighter in this area. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
It's a win-win situation for us. And guess what? We all stars. Like we all shine like
Yeah.
stars do, And so that's
Yeah.
that's who it is for. It's for all the stars, for all the star seeds that's out there, for them to know, first and foremost, you're not alone. Um, we all go through life. And not only do we go through life, but we all have to find our own way. And so,
Yeah.
Entitlements is a 2-in-1 self help book where, as you read my journey, you go through self help exercises that are very applicable to your journey. So, my first chapter is Live Up to Your Name. In that first chapter, I talk about, what it is to live up to your name and how ultimately, I was born with a big name, and people always say, I get older folks and be like, oh, that was such a big name to give such a small baby. And I'm like, I love it. It's unique. And
Man,
you know what it means to me? I'm meant to do it big,
man,
do it big or go home, and so I'm going to live up to that. And so living up to my name, it had really dawned on me when I was on a bus one night that it's all on me. And
man.
if it is to be, then it's up to me. And so that realization, like spiraled into everything else that consists, of that book. And so you will see, I don't want to give y'all too much without, giving it away.
Like,
But
don't give them the whole farm. Like, give them something
yes,
to
that book,
look for.
you're gonna love reading that book, because like when you start the chapters, you're gonna do things and see things, not only different, but you're gonna see how you can actually apply it to your own life. So one of the activities you do right off the bat from reading my book is what's called. Have you ever heard an acoustic poem?
No.
Basically, where you put like a name, a letter adjective to each letter in each
Uh-huh.
line.
Yeah.
So basically, you do that with your name. So I'll take my name,
Mhm.
Jamarquan, and I'll put an adjective there to describe each letter in my name. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, that's one of the first. What mines were jubilant, J for jubilant, um, A. What did I say for A? M. I'm gonna just say the ones that I remember. M for majesty, Q for quintessence.
Uh,
I think that's very important. I
right.
think that's another missing link. Taryll was talking about dropping gems. It's that ether, it's that spirit, that substance that people lack,
Mm.
that, really bridges the gap, because people, you're not just talking to people, you're talking to spirits, people who have not only their souls, but they have their whole lives ahead of them, their backgrounds, their, past and their future that's making up who they are now. So you're talking to spirits, and
Man.
the spirit is deeper than the surface. And
Yeah,
so,
Jamarquan over here giving y'all that nasty Nas flow right now.
yeah,
That ether is burning slow into your soul.
yeah, definitely. So yeah.
Oh, there, go ahead. Finish your thought. What were you gonna say?
Oh, you was gonna say something?
So I was just I'm unpacking all of it because you put so many different gems in
Yeah.
just every breath that you and word and sentence that and soliloquies. Like there's so much to unpack because there's so many gems. I'm trying to catch them all and give them back to the folks.
Well,
Like
you got my book. You got one of
yeah,
my
yeah.
books. I
Well, all right.
sent you a free copy of Visionaries Conquer and Reunite. That book is how to create your reality and publish your own book.
I
How to
appreciate
take
that,
your powers back and create your own reality. So it's acronym is VCR. You get it?
man.
It's
Man, I
like a
like
tape.
that. I get the VCR, the old school. Ah, man.
Yes, it's a tape.
See,
It's
Jim.
your movie, and once you get into this book, it's really eye opening. It's
Like,
very multi layered,
like,
and overlapping into different places where it helps you explore your mind more. Like the
mm-hmm,
first chapter, the power of imagination. The
mm-hmm.
first When you first read that, you're gonna be like, wow, okay, I see, you doing something with this, and then
Yeah,
you ain't gonna be able to start reading. Watch.
yeah. So, first, Rise Urban Nation. If you're listening to this and you hearing this, and this is vibing with you, or even if you having second doubts, remember, if you're listening to this podcast, you are a star and you deserve to shine like one. So this book is for
Yes,
you.
we do.
So pick that up.
For all the
Um,
stars. And if
yeah, you're all
you are sorry
stars.
that's unrealized, just know that they tried to bury you, but you
Yeah.
can't bury the star seeds. You can't bury the star seeds.
Yeah, they try to bury us, and then they don't know that we seeds, and just a lot of things that you were saying, resonates with me. But because I'm Nigerian, Nigerian culture, like every Nigerian has begin is named with a name that has meaning, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's from our ancestral realm, right? Going tracing our roots back to Africa. When you
Oh,
talk about community, right? The other thing aspect of community is like we are tribal people and we are you know when we're in community is our great asset. And I was talking to an elder on a different
Yes.
podcast. That podcast should be released on that's, or it's probably going to come before this podcast because I already had it. Um, I'll drop the link once this podcast starts. As one of the ladies who went over to Africa to get some of the healing roots from the nerves and
Mm-hmm.
touching and reflexology, and she brought it back over here from studying in the bush. And she said something to me. She's like, community is our superpower. This is why
Yes.
when we were brought over
Yes.
here, they did everything to take language from us, culture from us,
Divide and
separate us,
conquer.
and because that's our superpower. We need to
And the
get
word
back to the
community
community.
actually has the word unity in there. Did you catch
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, right. And this is why we are so magnificent as a people. But even through that, we still kept connected because we found how to do it by braiding our hair, right? To find the passage off the plantation through songs, through hymns. So
Mm-hmm.
we still passed on the vibration of our ancestors and our
Yeah, right.
ancestral
Exactly.
energy, even after everything was taken away from us, right? And so this is why
Exactly.
this is so important.
Exactly. And that
To
is really the truth about it. Like, stole identity and then um packaged it for sale and then convened and banned those, things that were very, sacred and important, and then deemed them, condemned them and deemed them as sin rather than sacred, and then made us demonize who we really are. And so I think and then not only at the same time demonize but then explode in
mm,
private, extract in private, and do the same things behind closed doors that you claim to dislike or oppose, right?
hmm
And so that's the sad part because people don't see those things. They don't see beyond the surface. They don't see the invincible part. They don't understand how the minority has been framed as a minority, but the minority is not necessarily the minority. Minority is the unspoken, the hidden majority.
hmm
And so very important. I think that's very relevant to bring up. But I feel like our people as a community struggle with being what they so-called say black and proud.
hmm
Whatever black to me is more than just the term black, because I'm not black. I'm gonna just
hmm
say that. But I'm cool if that's I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Like I know where I stand, so that type of stuff don't phase me. So words, even though they can cut deep, they double-edged swords can't phase me because I went beyond words. I went to
Yeah,
origins. I went to etymology. And when you go into that level, like there's no point of wasting your time. All right.
yeah.
But we struggle with being black and proud. And what I mean by
hmm
black power, people don't understand what black power really is. Black
hmm
power is the power of your unconscious. It's the power of your subconscious. That's why people say you need to make the unconscious conscious. You basically need to do
hmm
that shadow work so you can integrate your shadow, because
Mm.
really you're living and you're living in your shadow because you don't even realize that you're playing a simulation that wasn't even yours, that you didn't even set up.
Yeah, yeah.
You haven't
I love that.
integrated your reflection. But as a man, when you integrate your reflection, you will see that I am a seed, just like everybody else around me is a seed, and that
hmm
daughter, that son, whoever you brought into life, you were part of that too. And
Yeah.
people don't realize that man give birth to. It's not just typically how you think birth works in spirituality. Since I'm so tapped in, I understand that man give birth to form. I mean, give birth to essence, and the woman give birth to form. So
hmm
um and we do the same things in different ways, and I feel like until we really synthesize that and find those complements, we will kind of
Yeah,
struggle as far as the family goes, because we all have strengths and weaknesses that are meant to work as complements. And
yeah,
so where I'm going with that is just that a lot of times people haven't found that point, where that 0 point where all of those other things that don't matter dissolves,
yeah.
and we bridge the gap with the unity, because ultimately if it don't get us anywhere, then it don't make sense, you know. And a lot of times we are moving backwards in our communities instead of moving forward because a lot of people are scared to actually tackle the things that really are important. So going back to how we give birth spiritually, we all
Mm-hmm.
have a mind, right? And what we're dealing with is one womb. I call it womb, mind,
Yeah.
possession. One mind, possession. And you want to know why? Because if you can control the woman, you can conquer a woman's imagination. You can conquer a nation because a nation is birthed from her. You know,
Mm.
and from there, you know, depending on what she's cultivating and teaching, that's what's spread in our culture. And so until we take our powers back as far as Black power, the power of the subconscious, what's been planted in our subconscious, because our subconscious is meant to be nurtured. And going back to our point earlier, where I was like, you know, I'm disciplined, I'm fairly disciplined, and, you know, I'm still kind of seeing things fall short. How is that? Because it's not just about me. I was never meant to do it alone. Nobody was
Yeah.
ever meant to do it alone. No man is on the island. And so when you
Mm-hmm.
realize that, you will realize that everybody around you is sent to help you, is a tool. And we are supposed to be helping each other because,
Yeah.
you know, nobody did it alone and nobody in this world ever got it without help. So, you know, we all need help. And it's a part of nature versus nurture. So whenever you around, you know, a certain environment and you like don't understand like what is going on, like I'm doing everything right and it seems like it's not, you know, working for me. You have to
Mm.
really look at your environment. You have to really change your circle and you will change your life because I think that's that hurdle you got to get
Yeah.
over because you want to love the people that you came in with, right? But those
Yeah.
people are not always your people. I'm gonna just tell you straight
Yeah.
like that.
They're
They
not.
are not
They
always
not.
your people. I've been, you know,
As
betrayed.
Kendrick
I've
Lamar
been
said, they not like us.
they not like it. But and that's another thing when it comes to our culture is toxic. Like the whole
Yeah.
they not like us thing, I think it was a distraction more so anything. I'm gonna be honest with you, Taryll. I was not on that
Okay.
wave. But for those who were on that wave, you know, I
Yeah.
get the message, I get the, you know, whatever the point was. But it wasn't at the right time. And it definitely wasn't
Mm.
the message that I thought was appropriate for our culture too, especially at a sensitive time like this. I think artists who are big platforms like that
Mm.
need to do more homework as far as being conscious about what they put out there. Because while
Yeah.
they not like us, you not like us either. You don't even live in these communities. You don't live in these communities where these people stay at.
Mm.
But I do. But you want to know what? I'm coming from a different perspective because I don't actually myself. I live in the suburbs. Where the white people at? So, but who is you pointing the finger at? Because I know you ain't pointing the finger at me while you supporting these artists as they get paid billions and millions and you stream their music for free, but yet you can't even come to support me. You can't even stay down for the come up. And the
Yeah.
people that's really valuable that need to be invested in that really has the words and the things that can change this world, they get
Mm.
undervalued, under invested in. So
Yeah. Yeah.
what can I say? What can I
Right.
say?
Look, that's a whole nother podcast episode to
Oh yeah,
unpack
I told you we could do
that.
this all day.
And I'm also sitting and lingering on to the fact that you know that shadow work is so important. How important that is, you know, because a lot of people do just the light work, but that shadow work, you need the
Mm-hmm.
light work and the shadow work. They both are
You come
complementary
from
to
that.
each
That's
other.
where you come from. You are dark
Yeah,
matter turned into light, and so
yeah,
you can't have one without the other.
you can't, you can't.
That's where light comes from. Light comes from the dark. Like
Yeah,
nothing that and people don't understand how the dark is the light
yeah,
because they both reflect each other. So they are one and the same. They're two sides of the same coin. But that's
yeah.
why on a lot of these siblings, that's why I got to get into symbolism because it's right in your face, but you don't know it because you don't know how to read symbolism. So when you see a lot of those words, when they
Mm-hmm.
have the crosses like that and shields and different signs, that is talking about double edged sword telling you that hey, internally we teach our people other stuff, but we
Man,
tell y'all externally we feed y'all the bullshit crap. We give y'all the breadcrumbs because
man,
they want you to know what they want you to know so they can have you where they want you.
man. It is. It is. All right. Man, I
But
feel like we could go on,
that's
but
another topic
we go.
for
I'm
another.
trying. That was subject. Another podcast. That was
This is
subject.
urban rise, so we gonna get into it.
we is. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna have them back on. We gonna do deep dive in different topics. I see we gonna have to need to do that. Um, but for the sake of this episode, I wanna get real quickly to upper class agency. For
Mm-hmm.
those who are listening, looking for tools, tell them a little bit about upper class agency, where they can find it and how they can work with upper class agency.
Yeah, so you definitely can find me on Facebook. I'm currently on Facebook as Upper Class Agency. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Jamarquan Houston, and I also have my LinkedIn page for Upper Class Agency on LinkedIn as well. You can find me on the business pages. Yep. Bing. You can also find Upper Class Agency on Google.
Yeah. And what kind of tools can, if I'm reaching out to upper class agency, that can I get support with? What kind of tools, resources, consulting? What will that get for me? Upper
Right.
class agency.
So first of all, you welcomed onto my journey. First and foremost, um, as a teacher, and going back to my point that you can't out teach the teacher because I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a student with my students. I have to stay up to date with the current things that my students are hooked to. So I'm very aware of what's going on out here at all times. So I definitely have to stay tapped into both worlds, that light and dark, and
Mm-hmm.
finding the perfect bridge and merge between those two. And so yeah, um, as far as upper class agency, you can look forward to branding. I'm showing you how to brand yourself. I'm showing you how to transform through different seasons and different places because you're actually going through it with me as the owner, and the principal consultant. I'm the main point of contact, and I work with you from the whole process from the back end to what is seen on the outside. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually currently taking career breaks so I can get some licenses for my life and health insurance and
Mm-hmm.
also real estate. But I also do branding management, business. Okay, let me give you a whole spill upper class agency because I don't
Okay,
think
go ahead.
okay, I'm gonna give you the full spill. So upper class agency is a top tier management consulting firm who specializes in business brand and career development. And so we do all of
Mm,
the things as far as professional and personal development, and we even go beyond that. So whatever is clever, pretty much
mm-hmm.
with upper class agency. So we do not only resumes, cover letters, marketing plans, business plans, branding packages, all like card items like trademark assistance. I also do notary services. I do
Mm-hmm.
so many different things that
Yeah, but I mean, it's all, I see how it's all in tune because what you're doing is taking the whole self
yeah,
and looking at how you thread it through and through. So it makes
right.
sense to me, and you know, one let's give it up for Jamarquan because you've been
Thank
a
you.
blessing for us today. You're
Thank
doing like look, brother, you are doing more than just brand building. You're spirit building. You're
thank you.
your energy building, alignment, purpose. It's more than just that. And to our Rise Urban Nation family, if you're looking to start or realign your brand, don't sleep on Upper Class Agency. Head over to their
Nope.
page.
And if
The
you
I'm a,
holler at me right now, I may just send you the free ebook right now.
Nice. All right, you heard it there. Free ebook. I'm gonna get the link from
Missionaries
them too.
Content Reunite. If you interested in overcoming this writer block, if you interested in
Uh,
gaining inspiration, I'm telling you, like I give you the full fledged. Like I had writer's block. So how did I overcome that? Through inspiration. Well, how did I get inspiration? Creating memories. Okay. So I took you through the steps of how did I create memories? Spending time
mhm,
with family, capturing moments, capturing memories, utilizing my phone camera more to take pictures, and it don't even have to be that major. You don't even have to get a big camera, professional commercial camera. You can get a small simple camera like your
mhm,
iPhone and just start taking random shots of just simple things that at a certain angle, and it's gonna
mhm.
hit. I'm telling you.
See, I told
And
y'all,
then
don't
guess
sleep
what?
on
When
Upper
you go,
Class
and then
Agency.
guess
Don't
what?
sleep on it.
The catch is when you come back to that picture, you may forgot exactly the details, but you never forgot how you feel in that moment. So that kind of helped you with like, okay, inspiration because I was able to use the pictures that I was taking as I was documenting my journey along the way. And I was
Man,
able to go back to them and be like, okay, I remember how I felt that day. And so,
man,
that helped guide my transitions and, different chapters in my book too.
man.
And so they
Oh,
aligned
oh,
to
oh,
my
we
book.
almost forgot the book. So tell them where they can get the book.
Entitlements, the right to be happy. You can find the book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and also you can also find the book in my author's bio at allmylinks.com stairkeepers
Yeah,
/ stairkeepers. So that
yeah,
again is allmylinks.com / stair as in stair, and then keep a stair as in like actual stair that you walk on, and then keepers as in like somebody that you keepers. All right.
yeah. And don't worry if y'all driving right now, y'all listen to this. Don't worry, I'm gonna grab all these links from him, and I'm gonna put them in the show notes below. So you click on the show notes below, you'll see the link to the book. You'll see the link to the Facebook page for the Upper Class Agency. Any other links that I get from him. Make
I
sure
also
you.
have a learning
But
network that people like. The information I'm covering is basically, barely scratching the surface. For those who are curious and let their curiosity guide them and lead them as well, you may want to follow my learning network, which is the Leaders with Visions Network. That is a conscious community of unique leaders of different leaders who are making unique contributions in our community. So definitely
mm,
think you would love to be connected in that group. I share so many different organizations and other companies that's doing similar work and that has like similar, ideologies and, purposes and movements. So you definitely
yeah.
will gain a lot from joining the Leaders with Visions Network as a follower and member as well.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We got resources upon resources. You ain't got no reason why you should start your journey today. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs a little extra inspiration today. And remember, when you start with self, you scale with impact. Until next time, peace and love, family.
All right.